Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Victor Perez from Evolve Tech. Today we are going to be talking about cameras. We are going to be talking about the new Sony A7 IV, which is actually recording right there, against the ZV E10, which has until now been my A camera. The plan now is to have two cameras, A camera A7 IV, B camera ZV E10. So for example, when I'm doing the unboxings, I have the ability to take the upper shot and have another camera recording while I talk. But before continuing, let's go on with the unboxing of the Sony A7 IV. So we're going to start by opening the box. As you can see, the first thing you get is the manuals, as usual, all the instructions and the warranty for the camera. Once that's done, we can go on, and there you have. We're going to start with the strap for the camera for support. Then we are going to be getting the USB-C cable to charge the camera, the adapters for different countries, and the cable and the brick to charge the camera. This is the aand P100 battery. That's a great new battery that has been included with the last cameras from the A7 III forward, and that's the power brick to charge the camera. And finally, here we have the camera body. As you can see, it's much bigger and bulkier than the A7 III, and you can appreciate the bigger grip and better ergonomics. Along with the new buttons. I'm going to go through the biggest difference between these both cameras. First of all, of course, the sensor, and with what it implies a much better capability to shot in low light. Second, the IBIS, which for me has made a great difference, especially when you're going to be shooting handheld or at lower shutter speeds. You can definitely see the difference when having the IBIS there, and it's something that's difficult to show until you use it and you experience it. You then realize how important it is to have it. Third, for me, was the ergonomics, and you can definitely tell when you are holding the A7 IV that it's much bulkier. It has a much better ergonomics than the ZV E10 has, especially if you're someone like me with bigger hands, then you really are going to appreciate that bigger grip the A7 IV has. Then if you're someone like me which does a lot of video calls, you're going to appreciate the extra goodies the A7 IV has for webcam capabilities. From one side you can shoot 1080p, while at the ZV E10 is limited to 720p, and from the other side, when you are going to access webcam, it's much better on the A7 IV, because when you connect the cable, it asks you what you want to do. Instead of in the ZV E10, you have to first go to the mode and then connect the cable. If you do it otherwise, it won't work, and that just doesn't happen with the A7 IV. Next thing is everyone knows about it, 4K 60 on the A7 IV, and in this case it's with a crop, of course, as you already know, but anyways, it's perfect for slow motion, and most of the time I don't need more than 60 FPS to do slow motion. I almost never use 120, especially because you don't get the sound included while you do only 4K 60, which is very useful to synchronize the videos or just to have the sound there if you're going to do anything with that 4K 60 video afterwards. And then of course, one of the biggest differences for me is the battery. The battery on the A7 IV is great. I have done a full shooting day with just one battery on the A7 IV. That's unthinkable on the ZV E10. The battery just drains so fast on this little model. And lastly, for me, the biggest difference was also the autofocus, which is much faster on the A7 IV, especially if you're going to use one of the newer Sony lenses, then you really are going to appreciate how sharp and how fast it is. And Now I'm going to do a little list of some extra goodies which I think it's good to have. It's not like makes a difference. From one side, for me, for example, was the 10-bit video, which actually is useful if you're going to be shooting in complicated situations where you're going to be doing some heavy color grading. But most of the times for normal videos you don't even see a difference between them, to be honest. And maybe some filmmaker is going to kill me for this, but in my usage, most of the time you can tell difference. Right now, this is 8-bit video, this is 10-bit video, and it's up to you to say which one looks better, which one looks worse. It's hard to tell. From the other side, having a full-size HDMI is gold. With the A7IV, with the ZV E10 you have to get a converter. With the A7IV you just get whatever cable you have, hook it up to the TV, and you can straight transmit to it. What's also great is the ability to switch the lenses between these two. So if you're getting a full frame lens, then you are going to be able to use it on the ZV E10 without any issues whatsoever. If you're using an APS-C lens, then you're going to go into crop mode onto the A7IV. But actually, if you're going to be shooting 4K 60, then you can just straight use APS-C lenses because there's going to be crop anyways. And that's positive because, for example, I have the Sigma 30mm lens here, which I can just hook onto the Sony and get a 30mm 1.4 for 4K 60, which is great, and which getting into a full frame lens would cost a fortune. So that's great to have. And it's not future proof because if then the A7V doesn't have the crop anymore, then you're going to need to switch to full frame lenses anyways. It's just a nice to have. And another extra goodie is the double SD card slots. One of them is CF Express, but you actually don't need it in the A7IV except for the uncompressed 10-bit 422 mode. But if you're using H.265, and that's an extra good point for the A7IV, you don't even need it because the bit rates are not that high anyways, and you're good to go with a V90 card. And that's the last point I was going to go through is H.265, which I think it's great, especially if you're like me and like to save the videos afterwards just to have them, and in case you need to reapply some of the scenes you were doing for some video, you can just get the videos. It's just so much smaller than H.264, and if you're going to be keeping on a hard drive, then you start accumulating videos. It's just so much better to have them in H.265. With H.265 comes also the bitrate, which is much higher onto the A7IV, and this is great, especially on bitrate intensive tasks like on slow motion. You can appreciate that there's more detail and the image is not so compressed. And onto other things that you may or may not care about, for example the focus compensation, which compensates for the, but for me it doesn't make a difference because for now it just works with the G Masters, which I don't have. So, and finally the dust shadow, which is, I guess it's useful, but at the same time it's a little dangerous because it's very delicate, and just touching and bending one of those plates, which is pretty easy to do, to be honest, it's going to cost a fortune to you. And as for the bad things, we have the price. Of course, it's 3 times the price of the ZV E10, if not more. So from that side, is the video 3 times better? What do you think? Do I look 3 times better? Hard to tell. From the other side, having the APS-C crop is great. It's great actually, because even with APS-C crop, you're getting 4K downsamples from 4.6K. It's not from 7K, but anyways, it's still 4K, which is more than you're going to see on any social network anyways, or usually even on YouTube. Not many people go to 4K for the videos, even 1080p is great. So having the ability to APS-C crop and get that extra reach and still be on 4K is great. Not so much for pictures, because when you're shooting on pictures you get 13 megapixels, which is not great for photography, and especially the noise is really much more appreciable onto the A7IV when you are shooting onto crop mode in photography. So finally, what is my conclusion as to having used the ZV E10 and the A7IV for some time now? What I feel is that the A7IV is just more of a professional tool. If you're just going to be shooting around, shoot your kids, shoot your pets, some travel photography, then the ZV E10 is more than enough for what you're going to be doing. And I have gotten some crazy results with the ZV E10, some photographies that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them two. But the A7IV has just that extra reach, like 10-bit, full frame, low light, battery. So it's like a lot of small things that expand the camera, and what you get is not better quality of video, because the quality is also very good on the ZV E10, but you get better video most of the time. So most of the videos you're going to be shoot are going to be good because you're able to better grade them afterwards. You have less noise, to have less blurry images because of the IBIS, and so it's a lot of little things that add up and make a big difference between these cameras. So it depends. For me, if you're not going to be earning any kind of money, then it's an expensive toy. And in this case, the only reason why I got the A7IV is because I do some kind of side work with it and I get to pay it back. If this is something that's not happening on your life, then think twice about it, because an A6400 may be better suited for you. Even if you're just going to do videos like YouTube, you don't need an A7IV. There's many people who are just doing videos with an iPhone and they look great. That's enough to engage with the people out there. And as for competitors, is there any real competitor at the moment? The R6 for video overheats like crazy. The Nikon Z7 II is a step below onto video, and the Lumix S5 feels also like a step below, also price-wise is a step below, so it's not like a direct competitor of the A7IV. And in that case, if you're going to look for something else like 4K 60 no crop, then you're going to go for some specialist tool like the A7S III, for example. But then you're using onto the hybrid capabilities, which is one of the great things of this camera. You can just shoot great video, you can shoot great photos, and do it with just one body. Or you go to a monster like the A1, which can do everything. It can do everything better than this camera, but still you're going to spend twice. And that's my feeling about it. It's a great camera. Do you need it? I don't know, but in my case it makes sense, and I hope you like this review. Have a great day, and if you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, ping the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates, and see you next time.